videotape the proceedings so people could watch in the overflow room. I've read a transcript of the hearing, all 947 pages of it, and I would like to direct your attention to a particular exchange. It was between the then chairman of the FASB, Dennis Beresford, and a man named C. Douglas Dillon. Dillon was a tall man, gray suit, patrician, a certain stature. He was former director of Dillon Read & Co., the Wall Street firm founded by his father, and was possessed of maybe the greatest resume in mid-century America. U.S. Treasury Secretary for much of the 1960s, ambassador to France, chair of the Brookings Foundation, president of the Harvard Board of Overseers, a close friend of John Rockefeller III, a world-class collector of Impressionist art, and, most relevant for the purposes of the hearing that day, chairman of the Metropolitan Museum of Art in New York City. The American establishment sent its biggest gun to confront the FASB over the agency's proposal to change the rules surrounding the accounting for contributions received and contributions made and capitalization of works of art, historical treasures, and similar assets. The accountants wanted the art world to follow the same accounting rules as other businesses. Dillon versus Dennis Beresford, chairman of the FASB, member of the American Accounting Hall of Fame and the Financial Executives International Hall of Fame. Way back on day one of the proceedings in question, Beresford had made it plain that he wasn't going to stand for any nonsense. So C. Douglas Dillon was restrained in his objections, gracious. I'm going to guess this was his first visit to Norwalk, Connecticut. The room must have been hushed, right? I mean, it's C. Douglas freaking Dillon. He does a little preamble, carefully explains how outraged the Met is at the intrusion of accountants into their business, launches into a vivid description of the extraordinary size of the Met's collection, and then, and this is maybe my favorite part of the entire 947-page transcript, Dillon says, quote, "We have a new curator of Islamic art, been with us for a couple years now. We have certainly the greatest collection of Islamic rugs in the Western Hemisphere, one of the 2 or 3 in the world. He has never been able to even see that collection because so much of it is in storage and is so difficult to get out, so costly and time-consuming that he knows by the records what they are, but he hasn't been able to look at them." C. Douglas Dillon is speaking to an audience of accountants. Accountants are people who like to count things. More than that, they are people who believe, as a matter of deep professional principle, that everything can be counted. And they have proposed that the art world agree to start counting things like everyone else. And in response, this pillar of the American establishment shows up in suburban Connecticut and says, "We can't count our things. There's just too many of them. They're all buried somewhere in storage. To give you an example, the guy who was responsible for our Islamic rug collection, maybe the greatest Islamic rug collection in the world, mind you, has never even seen our Islamic rug collection." I have to say, this is where the art world loses me. So I called up the staffer at the FASB who organized that hearing all those long years ago. His name is Ron Bossio, just retired.
This is a good exercise for a 73-year-old to test the memory, to go back
Yes,
almost 30 years now.
I'm very impressed. Bossio returned to his old offices at FASB headquarters to take my call, so he would have access to the critical documents. So I'm just going to pull up the financial statements of the Metropolitan Museum, and I just want to very briefly walk through.
I was just wondering if they could be Googled up here as well.
Yeah, he's on his computer, I'm on mine. We're downloading the Metropolitan